Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm the Book Geek, also known as Kiava, and today I want to recommend some holiday movies for you to watch, and one that I also would really like to watch that I'm saving to watch on Christmas Day with my children. So these are in no particular order. There are plenty of holiday movies, Christmas movies that I really love, but I wanted to narrow my list down. So I'm only going to share 10 with you today and maybe one honorable mention. We'll see. Okay, the first movie that I want to talk to you about is The Christmas Chronicles, starring Kurt Russell. I had watched this movie around the time when it first aired on Netflix, and then I just recently rewatched it with my children. This was their first time watching it. This movie was so adorable. So in this movie, we have a family who has experienced a tragedy, and because of that, their family life is suffering a little bit. It's a mom, a brother, and a sister. And on Christmas Eve night, the brother and sister decide to set up a camera to try and catch Santa. And they end up seeing Santa, and they end up getting in the sleigh, and Santa takes off to go, on to where he's going, and these children are in the back of the sleigh. And so something happens, the sleigh crashes, and we have a whole adventure that happens from there. I thought that all the holiday elements that we needed for a wholesome holiday movie were in this. Of course, Kurt Russell carried this movie. He was so funny and so interesting as Santa. We got a look at the elves, and they had a very distinguished look, not like any other elves I've ever seen in any other movie. There were some surprises, and of course, there is a message about family and loss. This is a great one to watch as an adult. First time I watched it by myself, and this is also a great family movie. It is funny and it is adventurous. You won't be disappointed. Now, I have not watched part 2, but there is a part 2, and that is also on Netflix, and I can't wait to check that one out with my children next. The next movie I want to recommend is a classic. If you are into classics or you're looking for a classic, I recommend A Christmas Carol. I grew up watching the 1951 version. We had it on VHS tape, and it was the black and white version of this film. And believe it or not, I don't still have this film, but believe it or not, I do still own a VCR. I do still own a working VCR, and I have 3 giant tubs, those big plastic bins that you can put, your comforters and stuff in during the summer season when you're not using them anymore. I have 3 big plastic tubs, 3 plastic bins full of VHS tapes, and all of them work. And some of them might be worth money because I have some Disney ones in there that's still in the original box. I need to look into that because homegirl needs some money. But anyway, I grew up watching the 1951 version. I grew up with my grandparents. And so this was a movie that I watched with my grandmother every year around this time. I believe it is adapted from a Charles Dickens book or story. And I think everybody knows what A Christmas Carol is about, but in case you don't, it's about a mean-ass old man, Ebenezer Scrooge. He was mean as ever. And because of his behavior and some of the things that he's done, he is going to be visited by 3 ghosts. The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future, I believe. And they show him, things in the past, things in the present, and things in the future that affect his life and how he's affected other people's lives by behaving this way. And eventually, we follow him throughout the night, and we hope that he comes to some sort of revelation about his behavior towards the end of the movie. So this is a great one to go with. There are several different versions of this movie that you can go with, but I just recommended the 1951 version because that's the version that I grew up on. The next movie that I want to recommend is an animated film, and that is The Grinch. This movie was released in 2018. If you don't know, The Grinch absolutely despises Christmas, and he despises the people in Whoville who celebrate Christmas. So he comes up with this plan to try and basically steal Christmas away from them. For the little ones, this one would be perfect to watch. It's not going to be as memorable, but still enjoyable nonetheless. The next movie I want to talk about is Gremlins. I love this movie, okay? This movie was released in 1984. It came out before I was even born. I was born in 87. I grew up watching this movie. I never tire of this movie. So if you don't know, Gremlins is about a man who was out looking for a special Christmas gift for his son. He ends up purchasing what they called a mogwai. And there are special rules to follow when taking care of the mogwai. You can't get them wet. You're not supposed to feed them after midnight. You can't put them in direct sunlight. And so he gives the mogwai to his son. They named the mogwai Gizmo. And Gizmo is so adorable. He's so cute. But then they make the mistake of getting Gizmo wet. And when you put water on them, they multiply with water. So now we have multiple mogwai. And these mogwai are different than Gizmo. They have different personalities. These new mogwai are very sneaky, and they end up eating after midnight. And they turn from these cute little furry little creatures unto these grotesque gremlins. And they proceed to wreak havoc on the town. They multiply, and they just keep multiplying, and they just take over the town and just wreak havoc on the town. And it is so funny. It's so good. It might be a little scary for the little ones, but it's appropriate for children maybe 8 and up. It's an older movie, but it still stands the test of time. It's so funny. Very, very good movie. I always recommend people to watch this movie. The next holiday movie I want to recommend is a little different. This is a holiday horror movie. This is a Christmas horror movie. And you know I had to add some horror into this list because your girl loves horror. And that movie is Krampus. It is a horror comedy. It was released in 2015. It's starring Adam Scott and Toni Collette, just to name a couple. And in this movie, we have a dysfunctional family that comes together for Christmas. Everybody's arguing and squabbling. And one of the sons basically loses his Christmas spirit. And as a result, he unleashes these demons, these demonic entities, and Krampus. He unleashes this on his family, and they become the main target for Krampus and his little minions. It was so funny, and it did have some scary moments. The creatures in this are relentless, and it's unexpected. I didn't expect this from this film. So if you're into horror comedies, I would definitely check this one out. Speaking of The Grinch, the next movie I want to recommend is the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas animated film that was based on the 1957 book of the same name. Now, I prefer this Grinch movie over the first Grinch movie that I recommended to you. I prefer this version, which came out in 1966, over the more recent version. The Grinch in this movie just has so much more character, even down to the way he moved, the way he talked. You knew that he was different than those in Whoville, that he was villainous. The Grinch in this movie has much more depth and character, and so I prefer this one. And of course, it follows the same storyline. He despises Christmas, and he is out to put a stop to the Who's and Whoville's celebration of Christmas. He is out to steal Christmas. The next movie that I would love to watch again for the holiday season and also recommend to you guys is Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. This movie came out in the 90s. Everything in the 90s was better. This is starring a very young Macaulay Culkin. And in this movie, his family goes away for Christmas. They're going away on a Christmas vacation or whatever. And Kevin gets left behind. This time he didn't get left behind at home. He got lost in the airport and ended up in New York. So now he's lost. They're somewhere else again without him, and he's lost in New York. And he ends up coming across the same bandits that attempted to break into his home in the first movie. And so we're going to watch him outsmart the criminals once again. It's a lovable movie, one of my favorites. Never get tired of this film either. Very funny, hilarious. We get to watch the sticky bandits get their asses handed to them by a little boy. It's just hilarious. So I actually enjoy Home Alone 2 more than Home Alone 1. The next movie is a comedy. This is an adult film. This film is not for kids. Okay? And that is Office Christmas Party. This movie is so fucking funny. This movie is hilarious. Oh my God. It is starring Jennifer Aniston. It has a whole cast of people that will be recognizable. A lot of funny people in this movie. So in this movie, Jennifer Aniston, her character is the sister to this guy who runs this company. He is not doing so well, and she comes around during the holiday season, during the Christmas season, to shut this company down. She wants to shut it down, and he thinks if he can convince this other potential client, partner up with him, that they can save people's jobs and save the company. So he decides to throw this massive, epic party, and shit just gets wild. But he decides to throw this party to try and impress this potential client. And it just gets bananas. This party, I want to go to a party like this. This party was wild, okay? You will laugh your ass off if you watch this movie. One of my favorites that I always watch every Christmas season, every holiday season is It's a Wonderful Life. This movie came out in 1946. In this movie, we have a man named George Bailey, and he is going through hard times. He kind of thinks that things will be better without him. He ends up jumping off the bridge and into the water instead, and the person that he rescues ends up being his guardian angel. And so his guardian angel is going to show him what life would have been like without him, without George Bailey. And he's going to realize that he is important and his life does matter. It's such a wholesome movie with a very sweet, sentimental, and real message. So those are the 9 movies that I wanted to talk about. And this last one is one that I have not watched yet. I'm saving to watch this one on Christmas Day, and that is Jingle Jangle. It's titled Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey. It is a newly released Christmas musical that is on Netflix. It's starring Forrest Whitaker, Felicia Rashad, Keegan-Michael Key, Anika Nani Rose. It is a diverse cast. It's about a down and out toy maker that's going to find new hope. I can't wait to watch it. It looks so sweet. I can't wait to watch this. This is a family film. I'm told that it is uplifting, moving, and very heartwarming. I can't wait to watch this with my children. And I do want to put in one honorable mention because I just couldn't narrow it down to 10. And that is Edward Scissorhands. This movie, of course, came out in the 90s. It's starring a young Johnny Depp and a young Winona Ryder. In this movie, I think everyone has seen this movie. I have a poster of Edward Scissorhands up on my wall. In this movie, we have Edward. He lives up in this mansion, in this castle. And he was created by a scientist. But before the scientist could construct him new hands, he ends up dying. So now Edward is walking around. He has these scissors for hands, and he's all alone up in this big house by himself. And this woman who lives down in the town, she decides to go up there to try and sell her Avon, and she discovers Edward, and she brings him back home with her without thinking about what the repercussions might be. And at first, things are looking okay for Edward. He's cutting people's hair. He's grooming people's dogs. He's trimming people's bushes, which, you know, they basically used Edward. And then people start to turn on him, and people start to torment him. He's basically become this outcast, and he becomes ostracized, and he gets to witness how cruel civilization can actually be. And you come to this realization where you realize he was safer up there all by himself, away from people, than he was down in the town trying to be integrated amongst civilization and amongst, you know, regular everyday people. I always say that human beings are capable of the worst atrocities. And Edward got to witness that firsthand. It's a very, very sad story. But it does take place around the Christmas season. And there is, you know, he ends up falling in love, and he ends up learning right from wrong, things that he was never taught because he was isolated. But yeah, it's quite moving. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. The music score is incredible. The imagery is incredible. I just love Edward Scissorhands. And if you have not seen it, go watch it. And if you have seen it, go watch it again. I will be watching this one. I love this movie. I will be watching it this holiday season. So that's it, guys. Those are all the movies I plan on watching during the holiday season, and the movies that I recommend for you to watch. If you watch any of them, let me know what you thought of them if it's your first time seeing them. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish you a Merry Christmas if you do celebrate. Otherwise, Happy Holidays. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. All that jazz. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.